Hey up, it's your old friend McGoggin Lives, and would you just look at this pulchritudious panorama? You know what kind of media would mesh meticulously with this kind of verdant vista? Gothic horror. Well, maybe this is more appropriate.
What was it with the early 2000s and the gothic action fantasy horror genre? I've already made a video on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and you better have fucking watched it. But what about Hellboy, Underworld, Resident Evil? To say nothing of Uwe Boll's cinematic contributions.
I don't want to say much more because I'm not much of a southpaw.
I have a distinctive memory from this time period. It's Friday night, I'm playing Hitman Contracts, you know, the stealth game. And around 10 PM I switch over to ITV to watch Blade 2. I love this niche and often overlooked era of dark fantasy features. And today's feature presentation may just be the apotheosis of its ilk. It's like a combination of all the other movies I've mentioned, and it's written and directed by the bloke who did them mummy movies, making this lovable lad lauded.
I love you.
But is it any good? Well, don your quiet kid coat and grab your garlic bulbs and let's have a butcher's.
Behold, 19th century Transylvania, or possibly 21st century Britain. We open with Dr. Frankenstein receiving an unwanted house call, just when he's in the middle of doing what he does best, making references to a certain other Universal movie.
It's alive!
Sincerest form of flattery, they say. The doc is disrupted by his financier, another familiar face.
Count, it's just you.
Oh, I thought you were an angry mob. Thank God it's just the Prince of Darkness.
And I do mean familiar. Dracula is played by Richard Roxburgh. That's right, M from LXG. And if you thought he was foppish and condescending in that film, Dracula discloses to the Doctor the reasons why he had him build a monster, freaking Frank out. I mean, even grave robbers have standards. We're not told what his reasons are, but I'm sure they're very naughty. All we know is that Frank's creation is the key to something, and that Dracula sounds very henpecked by his wives.
In fact, my brides are insisting upon it.
You know, they are such a pain in the balls.
Now useless, Vic realises he's about as welcome as a woman in a Greek orgy. Even his henchman Igor turns on him.
But he pays me.
Well, if it ain't my little buddy Benny, I think I'll kill you.
Stay back!
You can't kill me, Victor.
Nah, he's fine. And makes Frankenfurter of Frankenstein. All the while, the mob is closing in.
Oh, don't worry. They're Romanian. They're probably just here to rip the copper out of the walls.
Herman Munster, maddened by the dock being drained, yeets Drac into the fire and takes off. The mob tail the creature to a windmill, entrap him inside, and set the thing ablaze.
Jeez, that's a lot of absinthe. Wonder who the miller is, Dave Mustaine. Oh, it is Dave Mustaine. Sorry, Ginger Nuts.
Seemingly doomed, Frankenstein's monster doles out the most dramatic death peal ever.
Hey, Frankenstein's monster! Yes, Mr. McGoggin Lives? Where did you get those vocal cords? At the musician's graveyard. Gee, were they expensive? Of course not! They were only a tenner!
In an anise-flavoured fireball, Dracula's plan for Frankenstein's monster has literally gone up in smoke. He's oft the only scientist capable of creating such a creature. Our clumsy Count can only look on with embarrassment and wonder if maybe he could have handled this affair with a bit more tact.
What a cunt.
We pick up a year later, in a different movie. Say what you like about this Assassin's Creed film, but it does have some damn fine theme music.
What? You don't believe me? Well, try listening to it with this gift playing!
On the 19th century streets of Paris, a hunter is on the trail of a rampaging Mr. Hyde. A dark fantasy set in the 1800s featuring actor Richard Roxburgh now has an act involving tracking down Mr. Hyde in Paris.
Ketchup? Catsup? Have I put the right movie on?
In the bell tower of Notre Dame, we're introduced to beastly bounty hunter Van Helsing, played by everyone's favourite boy crush Hugh Jackman.
Somebody!
And his on-again, off-again British accent.
I'd hate to be such a nuisance. You know, my superiors would like for me to take you alive so that they may extricate your better half. You're a deranged psychopath.
This variant of Mr. Hyde isn't quite as extraordinary as the one we've encountered before, so before long a fight breaks out. Quite a good one too, slick and imaginative, culminating with Hyde somehow throwing himself out of a church window and dying. Truly the only disaster that will ever befall Notre Dame.
Requiescat in Pace. You know, having Hyde kill himself does keep our protagonist sympathetic, although it does make him look like an incompetent wanker.
With his mission sort of completing itself, White Van Helsing ventures to the Vatican for a debrief. In this universe, there exists a secret society beneath Vatican City called the Knights of the Holy Order, dedicated to covertly fighting evil across the globe, and Van Helsing is Employee of the Month.
Well, that's just amazing.
I'm serious! Why isn't the movie about this lot? Hell, balls to the movie! This should be its own series! Each episode could take place in a different time period and feature the Order battling a slew of famous monsters from different cultures all over the world.
I've changed the name though. I mean, Knights of the Holy Order. Isn't that like naming yourselves Knights of the Sample Text?
Lo and behold, my genius was almost realised, with a concept for a show comparable to my idea. Unfortunately, NBC already had a series about a monster. It was called The Cosby Show. Anyway, with Van Helsing being so adept at causing creeps to kill themselves, he's being put straight back to work. Transylvania's the destination, and we're given a handy slideshow on how the Valerians, a family of nobles, have spent the last 400 years trying to finish our friend Drac, with no success. Now there's only 3 of them left, and if they don't grease the count soon, their entire brood is banished to purgatory forever.
So let me get this straight. A clan of vampire hunters have spent several centuries fighting Dracula in his thralls in the hopes of vanquishing him forever. Where have I heard that before? Let's watch that scene again, but with some different music.
Our story begins 450 years ago, when a Transylvanian knight named Valerius the Elder promised God that his family would never rest nor enter heaven until they vanquished Dracula from their land.
During this seminar, we touch upon Van Helsing's mysterious past. He's an amnesiac who hopes to one day rediscover who he is, and this here MacGuffin implies that Transylvania may be the place to start searching. No hero is complete without his comedy relief. Don Quixote had Sancho Panza, Britain has the Irish, and Van Helsing has Carl, played by David Wenham. Carl creates Chekhov's guns for the Order, a bit like a 19th century Q. After showcasing some of the devices doubtless to do something at some point in some scene, our ecclesiarchal emissaries embark for Eastern Europe. Meanwhile...
I say, a rather sexy young man tied to a post and used as bait. Who are they trying to catch, Stephen Fry?
This is the first of our Valerians, Velkan, doing a spot of animal control. We're then introduced to his fiery little saucepot sister Anya, played by Kate Beckinsale. Don't worry, her appeal wears off very quickly. Now, you might notice something about our would-be werewolf wranglers.
Pull me now, Duck!
They're shit at it. I mean, really shit. This is what we call a recurring theme.
Dogman goes after Anya like a pit bull after a 3-year-old, forcing Velkan's self-sacrifice to save his stupid sister.
Shame. Shooting dogs like that, he would have made a hell of a cop.
Elsewhere, the lads are closing in. They arrive in, Transylvania town, where the villagers aren't the welcoming kind.
We don't take kindly to your types around here.
Except one.
You, turn around.
Holidays in Romania.
After agitating the mob, Van Helsing then sums up the entire movie.
I'm here to help you.
I don't need any help.
Really?
Dracula's groupies show up and start causing havoc, providing a showcase for one of Carl's contraptions that we'll never see again after this one scene. Anya once again requires rescuing, this time by Van Helsing.
God, I don't know who I envy more. One moment. Get out! Get out! Bloody gay thoughts.
So there's shooting and shouting and Anya bravely running away and getting someone killed and... Some scant sunlight sheds a sliver of salvation.
The sun.
Really? Hey, I might be British, but I do know what the sun is.
Makes you wonder why vampires are attacking during the day, really. Extra challenge, maybe? Anyway, Anya continues being crap to the point where it starts becoming genuinely funny. She finally does something smart and gets inside a... Oh, never mind. Outside, Van Helsing isn't faring much better.
Will you forget that
Crossbow.
thing?
Sensing that this scene is in danger of going over budget, Carl points our hero in the direction of some holy water. Speaking of getting wet...
The last of the Valerius. Fresh.
Here she comes!
Me too!
Turns out holy water is about as healthy to a vampire as regular water is to a redditor, so the two surviving brides break off and retreat.
Requiescat and patio. I'm just gonna go and get a tissue.
There's more good news for the village. 2 people may have been needlessly killed, but the cow lives!
Yes! Oh, I'm gonna have to go and get another tissue.
The locals, however, are hardly thrilled about the pincushion pixie, fearing retribution. Even the cow being alive isn't enough to assuage.
Vampires only kill what they need to survive. Now, they will kill for revenge.
Oh. Well, I'm going to put your quote in my pocket for use in a later scene.
Van Halen is quick to castigate Anya as she reappears, acting like she did something useful.
Next time, stay close. You're no good to me dead.
Well, I'll say this for you. You've got courage.
No, I'm not playing around. You're really fucking stupid, and you're going to get yourself killed.
He's the first one to kill a vampire in over 100 years.
What the fuck have you and your family been doing this last century? Getting life insurance, I hope, seeing how accident-prone you all are.
No wonder you're extinct.
By the way, this status quo the town has with the Count and his concubines, how do the Valerians factor into this? You don't want to antagonise your haemophilic harassers, but have no problem being led by a family who have sworn to kill them. Now, in the next scene, there's allusion to these attacks serving as warnings to the village to cease all affiliation with this fumbling family, so either do so or tell the Count to cunt off. You can't whinge about winged waifs when warned to wash your hands of the vampire hunters, can you? Or, hear me out here, leave! Transylvania, come for the feisty gypsy princesses, stay to be harvested like livestock. Elsewhere, Dracula despairs at his bride being broiled, mainly because it's disturbed his nap. After some weapons-grade overacting, we discover that he, his brides, and his army of demonic Oompa Loompas are still trying to complete the experiment that the late Frankenstein's monster was to be a key in. They move from their current castle to another one, but not before setting another bloody werewolf on our heroes in retaliation. Damn things must grow on trees in Transylvania. Back in town, our heroes are given a tour of Casa Valerian. They got it on discount from one Dracula and have turned it into a spook-slaughtering stronghold.
My father would stare at that painting for hours looking for Dracula's lair.
Well, it's a painting, not a satellite image.
The bar is down the hall. Help yourself.
Oh, thank
As for
God.
me, I'm going to finish this.
Van Helsing continues speaking sense, reminding Anya that if she dies, she and her whole family better start preparing for a very boring afterlife. So maybe it'd be best for her to step back and let him do his job. Predictably, she doesn't reciprocate such a sentiment, so Van Smelsing sedates her.
Understandable. Now bundle her in a box and ship her off to the Vatican. I mean, for her own bloody safety.
Instead, Van Helsing just puts her in timeout in her room. Doesn't even lock the door. So what was the point of any of that? After waking up, however, it becomes apparent that they have an uninvited guest.
Okay, who brought the dog?
After once again nearly being made into pedigree chum, Anya bumps into her presumed dead brother.
Velkin, I thought a werewolf got you. Speaking of which, I just saw one down the hall. What a coincidence, you both showing up at the same time.
After her brother imitates both Charles Foster Kane and Lionel Richie, the penny finally drops. And even after this dermatological disaster, Anya doesn't try running away.
How has this family lasted 400 years?
Van Helsing returns, presumably from the bar, and uses his awesomeness to force Rover's retreat. The hunt continues out onto the street, which gets very atmospheric. Here, the Undertaker reappears, tries to wax our mane, and dies.
Goodbye, a pointless but mildly interesting character.
As Blam Helsing draws a bead on Beethoven, Anya interjects. Now, her reasons are sound. Apparently the Count has a cure for canine dysmorphia, and she wants to make a go of saving her brother, seeing as she's the one responsible for this shaggy dog story. Van Helsing reluctantly agrees, and together they track down Velkin.
For me, this is all personal. Why do you do it, this job of yours?
Dental plan, plus a 10% discount at the Vatican gift shop. Back at Frankenstein's chocolate factory,
it's only a model.
Igor and his Oompa Loompas recommence Dracula's science project, just as our heroes close in outside.
Castle Frankenstein. But it should be abandoned.
And? What a pointless observation! I mean, you're supposed to be a vampire hunter.
Inside, Rover returns in a rather painful-looking fashion. Should really get some E45 for that. Turns out Drac has more elaborate plans for our lupine lout. You may remember earlier in the film that there are 3 Valerians left. Anya, Velkin, and their old man. Meet the latter.
Toasty!
A charred guinea pig for one of Dracula's mysterious experiments. And now it's Velkin's turn in the lab.
This has got to be the most nonchalant version of Dracula ever. He's less Vlad the Impaler and more Gomez Adams.
Our 2 castle crashers eavesdrop on some Oompa Loompas.
Valerius. They say they're using my brother in some sort of experiment.
They then finally uncover the motive for Dracula's dalliance in biology.
Ugh. So this is where Romanians come from.
For reasons best not got into, vampires lay eggs. And for these eggs to hatch, they require both a big jolt of lightning, like the one that brought Frankenstein's monster to life, and a conduit for said lightning, which was supposed to be the monster as well. With Boris barbecued, Drac is hoping to use Scream Queen Velkin as a suitable supernatural substitute. How does any of this work? Why do you need to use the undead as a lightning rod? Why do vampires lay eggs?
Well, if you really must know, tough shit.
As Van Helsing decides to do some digging in Dracula's splooge, the satanic stillborns are stimulated into being by a few jolts of Velkin-enriched electricity. God, that's stupid. Naturally, the parents are very proud.
Has your fangs?
They waste no time in grabbing a bite to eat. This spurs Van Helsing into a spree of infanticide. Castle Frankenstein, more like Castle Columbine. Drax a little disapproving, so descends on our hero whilst Anya goes in search of her brother. Meanwhile, in Transylvania town... Let's get that quote out again.
Vampires only kill what they need to survive.
And how's that working out for you now that there's thousands of them, you dead idiot? Christ, you're safe for living in bloody Ohio. Our two male leads finally meet. No. Upstairs, Anya attempts to emancipate Vulcan, which goes about as well as you would expect. She does succeed in killing 3 of the crappy Doctor Who monsters.
No. Don't stop me. Don't stop me.
I've never been so turned on in all my life. Don't ruin this for me.
Below, it turns out Dracula and Van Helsing have met before, about 350 years ago.
Have you ever wondered why you have such horrible nightmares?
Well, I saw our reviews. Back in the village, Carl reveals himself to be the true hero of the movie, whilst our fanged family start popping like Chinese spy balloons. Why? It's something to do with Vulcan not being a strong enough conduit for the vampirelings' continued survival. Although they're already hatched. What are they, battery powered? Whatever. Stop thinking, moron! Van Nistelrooy uses this grisly distraction to grab Anya before she's flensed by Fido, fire off a grappling hook, and swing away like a Skywalker. Speaking of firing off, turns out Carl's heroism is well rewarded, which is more than Van Helsing can say. He's certainly in for a better night than poor old Dracula, who's once more reminded that desiccating Dr. Frankenstein may have been a tad hasty.
It would appear the good doctor took the key to life to his grave.
Well, you're the one that put him there, you silly cunt!
Talk about being in the doghouse. I'm going to be sleeping in the spare coffin for the next 200 years. We rejoin our downtrodden duo as they trudge through Transylvania's incredibly bizarre weather pattern. Snowing one minute, raining the next. It's Anya's turn to admonish.
No one knows how to kill Dracula.
I could have used that information a little earlier.
That should be the caption for the whole film.
Anya admits, however, that her brother cannot be cured of his canis lupusness.
You lost today, kid. It doesn't mean you have to like it.
There's some consolation to be had, as this strange ruin is just bursting with bottles of absinthe. Now, where have we seen that before?
Don't let it touch your tongue. It'll knock you on your ass.
Sorry!
Last one, I promise. Inside Mustaine's musty grotto, our pair make a momentous discovery. Herman Monster lives! And he's just as flamboyant as the night he was cremated. Doesn't care for uninvited guests either. Do you happen to have an aspirin? After darting the dude, Anya has her one bright idea of the movie, but Van Helsing shoots down her shooting arm. You see, if doting Dad Drac ever got his digits on our medley of man over here, it would be like putting Duracell batteries into the rest of his brood. They'd just keep going and going and going. But Gabe garners none of evil's effluence on Herman, so execution is evaded, even after man's best fiend Vulcan cops a look and runs off to snitch on them.
So now can we kill him? Shit!
Instead, it's decided to escort the creature back to Rome. You know, like what they should have done with Anya when they first arrived. At least we get to hear the theme music again.
It's great, isn't it? Alan Silvestri, don't you know?
It isn't long before the flying circus shows up. As Van Morrison is mauled by the malevolent mothers, the situation is further foobarred by Hungarian infrastructure, or lack thereof. Fearing Frankenstein's monster might not survive a second soiree with the Reaper, the brides try to save him from his date with the ground. But things aren't what they seem.
Oh no! I've been road warrior.
Their ruse rids them of another of Dracula's dames, but it's time for a little family reunion. After nearly becoming much less of a man Helsing, Herman and Carl rescue our peril-prone leads.
Once again, our captain of Gondor shows his quality. Who's the real bloody hero here?
All's well, except the fact they're on fire and they're being tailgated by a werewolf. After bailing Van Helsing, Old Yellers the bastard once and for all. We get a tearful farewell for human Velkin. Let's just hope all dogs go to heaven. Or at least will do if Dracula's killed before Anya, which isn't likely.
Not the best time, I know, but we are still 850 kilometres, or 528.17 miles from Rome, so if we could move this along, please.
Anya's quite peeved at Van Pelt, but just desserts have been served up.
You've been bitten.
Seriously, what the fuck is going on with this chick? She's supposed to be this hate-fueled hellion on a mission to vanquish evil. Instead, she's just an archetypical damsel in distress. So Anya is abducted and brought to Budapest as the gang look helplessly on. Down on the city streets, where scantily clad women falling out of the sky is commonplace apparently, the surviving succubus offers our lads a trade. Anya for Herman. I think that's what she said anyway. I was a little distracted at this scene. So a swap's arranged in a public place, a masquerade ball.
How's that get him to Rome plan working out?
With Van Helsing's wolf bite acting up, there's no time to waste. They dart Herman into dreamland and seal him away in a cemetery. I guess Hungary doesn't have travel lodges. Carl and Gabe then make for Uncle Fester's leaving party. We catch up to Count Licorice Legs waltzing away to the Fifth Element soundtrack. That's Anya on his arm. They might be mortal enemies, but a ball is at any rate a ball. Besides, he's 2 skirts short of a harem. Might as well go on the pull.
I am looking for a new bride. Someone strong.
Oh, I'd keep looking then. Might I recommend Peasant Girl from Transylvania town?
Van Helsing, in danger of not being the most dashing man in the dance hall, literally leaps into action. It's Carl, though, who sabotages the seduction and saves Anya.
As well as me. I'm gonna go bankrupt buying all this Kleenex.
That's the second time he's helped the heroine, by the way. I take back what I said about the Knights of the Holy Order having their own movie. Let's give one to Carl instead. The real sidekick swoops in to Fulton our femme fatale away. Hardly a hardship for our cunning count, however. Public place, more like private party in Vlad's summer retreat, with everyone in attendance being vampires. Oh, and they also acquired Frankenstein's monster ages ago, off camera.
Wretched undead! Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear.
All right, where did Frank find the body parts for this guy? Back of a butcher's shop? There's more ham in that guy than human, I'll tell you that much.
Understandably, the haemophilic house guests are determined to drain Scran Helsing, so the team leave early. Carl is ready with one of his Chekhov's guns from earlier, this time an antediluvian flashbang, which fries their fanged followers.
Carl, you're a genius!
And you're in his shadow, sidekick. Stop hogging his limelight.
But with Herman hitching a ride with Dracula back to Transylvania, this is hardly our hero's finest hour. I'm starting to think we're not even going to make it to Rome. Which is fine, because apparently Rome wants Chrome Dome boned, making Van Helsing rather cross.
Tell them what I'm to become. Tell you how to kill me!
With Gabe starting to molt, the trio take off to Transylvania. Returning to Castle Frankenstein, they discover that their hideous amalgamation of human is in another castle. Dracula's HQ, to be exact, which no one knows how to find.
We've been looking for him for more than 400 years.
So, you Valerians couldn't find water if you fell out of a fucking boat!
Of course, Carl knows what to do, so back at Casa Valerian we get some exposition.
That Count Dracula was actually the son of Valerius the Elder, the son of your ancestor.
Everybody knows that.
Wait. I didn't know that. That whole thing at Dracula's palace was... Oh, you can tell this takes place in Eastern Europe, can't you? Got to think I nearly cracked one off to that.
Anya's ancestor couldn't bring himself to vanquish Dracula, his own son, and her great-great-great-uncle, so imprisoned him instead, hoping future generations might finish him off. Kill my son or face an eternity of purgatory. It's not much of an inheritance gift, is it? Drac later ate his vegetables, grew wings, and escaped his prison. The only entrance for ground dwellers is hidden in the house somewhere. Remember our MacGuffin back in Rome? I'd be surprised if you did. Well, guess what?
God, Carl's awesome. As if it was possible to make the Valerians look even more incompetent.
See you on the other side.
Be careful.
Oh shit, yeah, thanks for reminding me. Passing through the portal, our protagonists stare up in awe at Vampire Central.
Right. How many castles does this cunt have?
Surely one's enough. Tory politicians don't own as many homes. And you are telling me that your fucking family never thought to check the giant fortress built into a fucking mountaintop for Dracula? This is more subtle. You know what? Who cares? This movie is in full-on finale mode.
Going to go in there and stop Dracula.
And kill anything that gets in our way.
Yeah!
Inside, they're greeted by more proof that Dracula fucks. And Igor. They also find Herman, looking like the back of my freezer, who explains that a cure for lycanthropy lies upstairs, and hope for Van Damme is not lost. Why does the Count keep anti-canine capsules in his medicine cabinet?
Because the only thing that can kill him is a werewolf.
Right. So the only creatures that can dispatch Dracula are the same ones he uses to run errands for him? Isn't that like Superman insisting on wearing kryptonite underwear because the material breathes? Does he brush his teeth with holy water as well? Use a steak as a back scratcher? Twat!
Igor's gently persuaded to take Carl and Anya to this antidote, whilst Van Helsing heads off to confront the Count. Or he will do eventually. In one of the towers, Vlad and his team of midwives prepare to supercharge his odious offspring with a Frankenstein monster-powered lightning rod. Ugh. Speaking of, some weather we're having again. Blizzard with a chance of lightning storm. Are we on a gas giant or something? Igor delivers the duo to the dose and deftly dupes them, locking them inside.
You tried to get Igor. Igor get you.
Yes! Yes, he did! The bungling stooge outwitted the vampire hunter!
As Wolfman Helsing closes in on Frank's monster, the bride greets our duo downstairs. In an uncharacteristic display of intuition, Anya melts the prison bars, and their host's face, with the acid used to secure the serum. Carl's off on nurse duty, while a sultry showdown starts with these pair.
Well, my money's on the pretty lady. Not that pretty lady, the other pretty lady. The one that doesn't suck. Well, she sucks, but not in that way. The one that's not Kate Beckinsale!
As Carl Belmonts his way through the castle in the snowy thunder rain, Igor returns to motivate him. Gabe reaches Herman and helps to unharness him, but Dracula's fixated on fatherhood. A final jolt brings about the brood, Mazel Tov, and hurls Herman over the battlements. He's able to Tarzan his way down the wires and inadvertently save Carl.
Goodbye, Benny.
Well, this is going as well as expected.
But after Carl returns the favour to Herman, the lad goes 2 for 2 and saves Anya as well.
Christ, who hasn't saved Anya at this point? Igor, do you want to go? Oh wait.
Upstairs, our adversaries meet amongst the burning Oompa Loompas for a showdown. If Drac's descendants get out, it'll be WWIII. Only way to stop them now is to pulverise Poppy. So, as midnight arrives, Gabe reveals that it was he who let the dogs out.
This cannot be.
Oh, fuck the Valerians. How's this moron lasted 400 years?
Fuck's sake, this movie's got more werewolves in it than E621. Cujo's got until the end of the stroke of midnight to clip the count. Otherwise, he's on wet food forever. Below, our heroes are in danger of overworking the CG team. Carl Hail Marys the formula to Anya, who manages not to impale herself with it, even after she's intercepted. How many times do I have to save the same fucking idiot? After being rescued one last time, Anya finally kills a vampire. Though frankly, I chalk that one up to Carl for throwing her the stake.
I think if you're going to kill someone, kill them. Don't stand there talking about it.
Yeah, it's a little late in the day to be sounding cool, Eli, but Requiescat got them watching.
Back at the Monster Mash, a lunar lull in the fight allows the new widower to unveil Van Helsing's hidden background.
Did I mention that it was you who murdered me?
This is the longest stroke of midnight ever. Turns out Gabe is Gabriel, God's hitman, redecorator of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the bloke that offed Dracula in the first place. This is closure enough for our angelic assassin, and he proves that second time's the charm, and every dog has its day.
I hope I give you the shits, you fucking wimp.
Requiescat in fucking pace!
With the Dracula family looking about as healthy as the Kennedys, all that remains is to give Van Helsing a rabies shot, which is easier said than done. When it looks like Gabriel's garnered a liking for licking his own bollocks, the true hero attempts to cure him the old-fashioned way. Fortunately, the shot of Juju and a harsh reality check does the trick.
Spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch. Oh, come on, Carl, this was inevitably going to happen at some point. And you know what to do.
No. Bad Van Helsing. Do I have to rub your nose in that? By the way, I just love this fucking face Wolfman Helsing makes here. Talk about a hangdog expression. Looks like he just shat on the living room rug. With a baleful cry, regular-sized Gabe returns, horrified that he's been made to feel a prick twice in short succession. Poor Van Helsing.
Talk about a dog without a bone. Didn't even get to hump a leg.
In our final scene, Anya's set on fire, as Frankenstein's monster drifts away on a raft.
See ya.
This guy was a major character! I have a feeling that they're trying to mirror the ending of his book, but he should at least have some dialogue in the finale. As our lads round off their Romanian barbecue, ethereal scenes play out in the smoke.
You killed me! You fucking idiot! I can't believe how fucking stupid you are!
Well, at least I'll never have to work with werewolves again. So it seems after literally going to the dogs, the entire Valerian family are reunited and heaven-bound. If I was them, I'd want a word with the ancestor that made that stupid pact with God in the first place. So let's summarise how the mission went, shall we? Carl got laid, Van Helsing killed the last two Valerians, ate his love interest, found out he was an angel, and booted Herman out to sea. But did do in Dracula.
Yes!
With their mission technically complete, our hero and Van Helsing ride off into the sunset, and we get to hear that fucking theme song one last time.
Dooby-dooby-doo, where are you?
Oh, close enough.
Van Helsing, the apotheosis of action horror, or a gargantuan load of gothic garbage? Where does it feature on the shite or alright meter? This movie is certainly daft. Why the fuck do you need a Frankenstein's monster as a catalyst for life? Why can Dracula only be killed by a werewolf? And why does he use them instead of wiping them out? Why is the weather like an English summer all the time? Who the hell was that Undertaker guy? What the hell are these things? And why are the Valerians so crap? The best explanation I have is this. The answer to my questions is itself a question. Who fucking cares? It's supposed to be fun. That being said, the Valerians did piss me off, especially Anya. I mean, she is, on paper, an interesting character. A vampire-slaying gypsy princess. Instead, she's reduced to some dizzy bimbo that needs rescuing every 5 minutes. Bloody shame. Got nothing against Kate Beckinsale either. Not just because I'm a fan of her dad. You're only as good as what's written, after all. The counterpoint to this is that almost every other character in the film was lovable in some way. Jackman was suitably brooding. Richard Roxburgh was sucking the furniture dry and enjoying every minute of it. David Wenham as Carl proved to be far more than just comedy relief. And oddly enough, this movie's interpretation of Frankenstein's monster is probably the closest resemblance to the original, being intelligent, misunderstood, and simply wanting people to respect his right to live. Of all films to make that kind of effort, the movie, in spite of its silliness, remains very stylish and slick. While there's a lot of CGI, I think they struck a good balance between digital and practical effects. Wasn't overwhelming, and my suspension of disbelief sustained. In conclusion, it's alright. It's a spectacle, an October movie. It's not life-changing, but you need to go into it with the right mind, which is to say, none. And when it comes to Gothic-themed action, you can't get more quintessential.
I've been McGowan Lives, cheers for watching. Join me next time, where we will take to the skies.
Hey, I've got a permit to film here! I've got a permit to film here!
Requiescat in pace.